Alright, so you guys, I think I found out why my Avast auto top off was continuing to run even though the sump was almost completely full. Thankfully my float valve shut everything off, but I think I understand why. You can see here that my sensor is in the water, which should be basically the level at which the sump should be filled, and you can see that as if I simulate water rising, as the pump's running, the water in the sump should be rising. That would mean that the water level around the sensor would be going up, and so if I push that all the way down, you can see that my top off is still calling for water. So I lift it up, top off is still calling for water, and as the water is pumped into the sump and the water level rises, it rises around the sensor all the way down. It's all the way down it's all the way almost submerged, and finally it cuts off. But barely. Look, it cut back on and I'm touching the bottom with this thing and it's still running. So watch this though. I think that this is the reason why. So if you look closely inside the sensor tube, as it comes up, out, let's say the water level is dropping in the sump, notice what's inside the tube itself. So if you notice that it's pulling water up, so the tube is completely filled with water right now, and it thinks that that's the water level in the sump. You can see it's still calling for water up there, right? So now watch, if I bring it all the way out and let that water drain out, now it thinks that the sump is completely dry, so yes, it should be calling for water. But then if I put it back down just ever so slightly, cuts off. Bring it back up, cuts back on, just barely down, just barely down. I can hear it flick it on and off. So I think what's happening is somehow, some way, either by mistake from myself or a leak around this area right here, this air bubble that gets trapped inside that sensor tube here vanishes and allows water to fill into the tube itself, and it actually causes the sensor box to think that the water level is low in the sump, and so it continues to pump water. So there's a couple good things. I only had about, I'd say, 3 gallons of water in my top off reservoir, so even if my float valve didn't catch this, I would have only pumped in about 3 gallons of water. But I don't know what to make of that. Again, I can hear it going on and off right there. So I don't know why that would fill up like that. But I guess I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. I simulated that by taking another cup of water and actually filling this thing up prior to putting it in there, and I replicated the issue that I was having in my sump here. But then as soon as I let all that water out, everything went back to normal. So I don't know, you guys. I would say, FYI, keep your eyes on that, and I don't know.